Hi guys, so at this point of time we will continue with the connection details for the warehouse. The first component we finished so far for the connection is the frame knee connection, what we call it, which is the connection between the rafter and the column. Our second connection details will go between the two rafters, or what we call it the apex connection, referring to the apex point of the frame, which is the ridge point of the frame. So if we go back to our specification, it's asking for the ABEX connection details to be 30mm thick plate with 8 of M24 bolts, 8.8 grade snug tight type of bolts. We need to provide 900mm long haunch with the same section as a rafter. Just to make some variations, let's change this to make it as a 12 made of the haunch made of 12mm thick plates, made of 12mm thick plates. Just to make variations to the first haunch we created for the knee of the frame, for the knee connection details. So let's try doing that. So I've got the two rafters, I need to connect them. So as usual, we go to structure or to steel, we choose connection. That will create the connection between the two members. There's no primary and secondary in this situation here. It doesn't matter which one primary or secondary member. Anyway, so we choose the right connection from the options we may get there. So we have the ABEX, usually is the first one, ABEX with haunch. And as we agreed, this detail should be we should be able to modify it or modify the parameters of it from here. Having said that, for some reason it's not activated, we have to do what we've done for the previous connection details. We go to edit type, let's rename it, duplicate it and rename it please. So I will call it at ABEX haunch and press OK. We go to editing, and that will give us the options for modifying the parameters of that connection. So just looking at the connection from a close distance, start with the thickness of the plate, the end plates, we agreed on 30mm. Construction gap will keep another 5mm gap between them. Now for the correction angle, if we provide an angle here, this may provide a spacing between these two plates. For example, if we provide 5 degrees angle, look at the two plates here, we don't need any of this, so we'll keep it at 0. Now for the size of the plate, we will use the projection method, the same what we've done for the knee of the frame connection details. We will provide 110 top and bottom for the same size bolts, and for the sides of these bolts we provide distance of 10mm, so we can provide weld on both sides of these plates. Okay, that will give us the end plate details. Now for the haunch details, instead of using profile as we agreed this time, we're going to use plates. We're going to use 12mm thick plate. To start with, the length of the inner plate, so the length of this plate here, I'll use 900mm, what was required, and for the height of it we'll use 400. That wasn't specified, but I'm just looking for something with good proportion. That's a bit too much, maybe we use 350. And for the chamfer, we'll keep all the chamfers 20mm, usually is our standard for chamfers. The width thickness is 12mm and the flange thickness is 12mm plates. Flange width same as the width of the rafter, which is we have to come up with we have to find the width of the rafter. You can Google it straight away, which is 530 UB 82. The width is 209mm. So we'll stick with that, 209. We'll keep it the same on both sides so we don't have to repeat the same specification on the other side. Let's look into it, make sure everything's in the right place. That's it. Okay, so we've got the bolt details. We choose the Australian standard, high strength structural bolts, 8.8 grade, snug type, and not with the washer. What else have we got there? We've got the size of it, 24mm bolts, and the spacing, that's what we discussed before. So the horizontal distance between them, if I look at it on an angle, these bolts are very close to each other, so we need to provide more distance. 120mm would be sufficient, I think. Yep, that's it. That will set the bolts in the right position, because if I keep them very close, they'll be very close to the whip, so you can't have enough distance to provide for the socket to tighten these bolts. Number of bolts per side, we need one bolt here, one bolt on the other side. We'll keep it as one. The bolt groups, the usual what we've done before. So we're starting at 45mm distance from the edge, and then we'll provide a distance of 120. I think we provided before. Just to check that, looking at it from the edge, if that will look enough. Spread them. We'll need a bit more from that. Let's go to 140. I can see these two, the flange is very close to the port. Maybe won't be enough to provide a socket here to tighten it. Let's provide it another 10mm, so make it 150. Okay, now the same thing we need to do for what we've done before to organize these two bolts at the bottom with 45mm distance from the bottom and another 150 from there. So if I just save and go measure, the distance will be needed there. Go to the west elevations because I can't measure from here. So the full distance we currently have between this bolt here and the plate 906, I need to take off at 45 and another 150, so 195. So 906 take 45 take 150, 711. Go back to our connection details. Got the bolt groups, be 711, sorry, and then 150. That should make the last bolt here sits at 45mm from the edge. Okay, I think that's all what we'll need for now. Stiffener plates, we'll keep these stiffener plates, although they're not specified in the specification here, but usually when we have a haunch here, this may provide additional compression or stress on the whip, so we can provide these two stiffener plates, 10mm thick. They're easy to add and it doesn't cost a lot. So I'll keep those in place. We'll go okay, and this is our connection details done, and okay. Look at it in 3D. As we've done before, just right click, propagate connection. Give it some time. That's it. And that will create a connection between all the rafters.